So, as I showed you in the last problem, once you factored out the greatest common factor, or once you've figured out what the greatest common factor is, you can factor it out of the equation. So looking at this one, I can see right away that each of these is divisible by 4, and each of them has an x. And because the first one is exactly 4, I am sure that 4 is the greatest common factor. So if I were to pull a 4x out of each term, what would it look like? Well, if you're not sure, the long way to do this is to write out each of these like we did before. 4x to the 5th equals, well, the prime factorization would be 2 times 2 times x times x times x times x times x, and 24 x to the third, that's negative, is negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times x times x times x, and 8x is 2 times 2 times 2 times x. And what I would notice is that each of these has two 2's, each of these has one x, so that makes 4x. And what do I have left? Here I have x to the 4th. I could write this out here too. 4x times x to the 4th. This next one, 4x times negative 6x squared. And this last one, all I have left is 2. 4x times 2. Now, there's my 4x in each case, so I can put them all together and say 4x times x to the 4th minus 6x squared plus 2. You don't necessarily have to write out all that work. If you're comfortable with this, and you can look at 4x to the 5th, then say, hey, I know if I pulled a 4x out of that, well, that would be the same as 4x times x to the 4th. Same with negative 24 x cubed. You could say, hey, if I pulled a 4 out, well, negative 24 divided by 4 leaves me with negative 6, and if I take one of the x's out, that leaves me with x squared. And so what I'm doing there is I'm just dividing the coefficient by 4 to figure out what this number is. And 8x is equal to 4x times what? Just 2. So you don't have to write out all this work. You can do this with less work, or you can write out all this work and do the prime factorization of each coefficient and write out all the x's in expanded form, and you will get, that's also a way to get the answer. You can do it either way, whichever one is more comfortable for you. Okay, so what is the factored form of 9x to the 6th plus 15x to the 4th plus 12x? So figure that out, figure out what is the greatest common factor that all of those terms have. And then there's a reasoning question here that says, what is negative 6x to the 4th minus 18x to the 3rd minus 12x squared written as the product of a polynomial with positive coefficients and a monomial? So in other words, you want something negative out here and all the things in here to be positive. So you want to factor out that negative. There's many different ways to do that. All right, take a shot at those, see how it goes for you. And then we've got one more problem, I think just one more problem we're going to look at where we do a word problem.